I still remember the moment my phone vibrated, a message appearing on the screen. It was a message from Ryan, my husband of 12 years. A short message, yet powerful enough to shatter everything I once believed. I don't love you anymore, I want a divorce, from now on, all communication will go through my lawyer. That was it. No explanation, no apology, just a cold, calculated decision wrapped in a few emotionless words. I blinked, making sure I hadn't read it wrong. My breath caught in my throat and my fingers trembled as I continued to stare at the screen. Ryan was at work, or at least, that's what I thought. There had been no warning signs, no prolonged arguments, no distant silences, no indication that he had checked out of our marriage. We weren't perfect, but I had believed our relationship was strong enough to weather any storm. And now, he was ending it like this. I immediately called Ryan. The phone rang, but no one answered. I tried again and again, still no response. I sent a text. Ryan, what is this? Are you joking? No reply. Confusion quickly turned into worry, then into anger. 12 years together, and this was how he chose to end it? A dismissive text, then disappearing without even facing me? I forced myself to take a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Maybe something was going on, maybe he was under pressure, maybe this was some kind of mistake, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized something was wrong. The way Ryan worded the message, so rigid, so decisive, so emotionless. It felt like he had thought this through carefully before sending it. Cutting off communication immediately, directing everything through his lawyer. It wasn't just cold, it was deliberate. A sinking feeling crept into my gut. I opened my contacts and found the number of David Monroe, Ryan's lawyer. I had never had a reason to call him before, but now, everything was different. The phone rang twice before someone picked up. Monroe speaking. His deep, steady voice came through the line. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice steady. Hello, Mr. Monroe. This is Olivia. Olivia Bennett, Ryan's wife. A long silence followed before I heard a sharp breath on the other end. Olivia, his tone dropped into something almost wary. Ryan has contacted you already? I frowned. You knew about this? What's going on? He just sent me a text saying he wants a divorce and that I should only contact you. Another silence, longer this time. When Monroe spoke again, his voice was tense. Have you signed any documents yet? I froze. No, just the text. Why are you asking me this? This time I heard something different in the background. Chairs scraping, papers being shuffled. Then a quiet curse under his breath. Damn it, Ryan. He really did it, didn't he? Monroe wasn't talking to me, he was muttering to himself. I gripped my phone tighter. Mr. Monroe, what is going on? His voice suddenly became urgent. Listen to me, Olivia, do not sign anything, do not agree to anything, and most importantly, do not talk to Ryan. A cold shiver ran down my spine. Why? Tell me what's happening? Monroe lowered his voice as if afraid someone else might hear. I can't say too much over the phone. But you need to understand this. Ryan has been hiding a lot. If he finalizes the divorce before you find out, he keeps everything. I could barely believe what I was hearing. My grip on the phone tightened, my mind spinning. What are you talking about? Hiding what? Monroe exhaled heavily, his tone grim. I can't say more right now, but trust me, Olivia. You need to be very careful. Don't let Ryan know that you suspect anything. If he realizes you're digging, things will get even more difficult. My heart pounded in my chest. I looked at Ryan's text again and suddenly, it didn't feel like a cold farewell anymore. It felt like a calculated move, a carefully laid out plan. I had spent 12 years trusting Ryan, and now in a single text I realized I might have never truly known him at all. But if Ryan thought I would blindly sign anything without uncovering the truth, he had made a serious mistake. I took a deep breath, my hands clenched into fists. I won't let this end the way he wants. I sat on the sofa, my phone still in my hand, my mind filled with doubt. Monroe's words echoed in my head. Ryan has been hiding a lot. If he divorces you before you find out, he keeps everything. I tried to piece everything together. Ryan had always controlled our finances, but I had never thought much about it. He worked in investments, always busy with numbers and deals. I trusted him completely. but now I realized I was completely in the dark about what was really happening. Monroe told me not to let Ryan know I was suspicious, but I couldn't just sit still. I needed information. And there was one person who could help me. Rachel Carter, Ryan's personal assistant for the past 7 years. I dialed Rachel's number, my heart pounding. The line rang 3 times before she picked up. Olivia? Her voice sounded surprised. We were never particularly close, but I knew Rachel was reliable and meticulous in her work. Rachel, I need to talk to you, it's important. I tried to keep my voice steady, but the tension was undeniable. She hesitated for a moment, then said, "This is about Ryan, isn't it?" My chest tightened. "You know something, don't you?" A sigh came through the phone. "Meet me at Brewster Cafe on 5th Avenue in 30 minutes. I can't talk about this over the phone." I grabbed my car keys and left the house immediately. Rachel was already sitting in a secluded corner of the cafe when I arrived. She glanced around nervously, as if afraid someone was watching. "Are you sure Ryan doesn't know you're meeting me?" Rachel asked the moment I sat down. I nodded. "He's somewhere else and hasn't responded to my messages. I just need the truth." "Rachel, you have to help me." She bit her lip, then lowered her voice. "Olivia, I don't want to get involved, but I can't turn a blind eye either. I've seen things I shouldn't have." I sat up straighter. "What things?" Rachel looked at me for a long moment before speaking. "Ryan has been meeting with people I don't recognize. Late-night meetings, nothing scheduled officially. I accidentally overheard a conversation last week. He said, once she signs, it's all mine. She'll never know what's missing." A chill ran down my spine. He was talking about me, wasn't he? Rachel nodded. "I believe so. And that's not all. I also discovered that in the past 6 months, Ryan has made a lot of unusual bank transactions. He's been moving large sums of money into an account that isn't linked to the company, and your name isn't on any of the paperwork." A surge of fury rose within me. "Do you know where this account is?" Rachel shook her head. "I only saw glimpses of some documents, but if I were you, I'd check Ryan's private office. He still keeps a lot of important paperwork there." I clenched my fists. Now I understood everything. Ryan didn't just want a divorce. He wanted to make sure I was left with nothing when it was over. "I will find out the truth," I whispered. Rachel placed a reassuring hand on mine. "Be careful, Olivia. Ryan doesn't give up easily when he wants something." That night, I stepped into Ryan's home office. He might not be sleeping here anymore, but I knew he hadn't cleared everything out yet. I walked straight to the large wooden desk in the center of the room and opened the right drawer. Inside were a stack of documents, mostly business files. I sifted through them, searching for anything unusual. The second drawer was locked, but I knew Ryan. He was always confident that I didn't care about his work, so the lock combination wouldn't be too complicated. I tried his birth date. Wrong. I tried our wedding date. A click echoed in the silence. I pulled the drawer open, my heartbeat accelerating. Inside was a thick folder. I opened it, and my breath caught in my throat. A bank statement for an account I had never seen before, and the balance, $5.2 million. I blinked several times, making sure I wasn't seeing things. Ryan had been funneling an enormous amount of money into this account for over a year. I continued flipping through the pages. The transactions were made regularly, with large sums withdrawn from our joint accounts and funneled into this private account. A perfect plan to keep all the assets for himself after the divorce. Anger surged through me. I had stood by Ryan's side for over a decade, supporting him, trusting him. And this was how he repaid me? I pulled out my phone and took photos of every document. Then I grabbed a large envelope from the drawer and stuffed all the papers inside. I wouldn't let Ryan destroy them before I could use them. My phone vibrated, a message from Rachel. "He's looking for you, be careful." I took a deep breath, gripping the envelope tightly. If Ryan thought I would be easily deceived, he had made a serious mistake. I slid my phone into my pocket, stepped out of the office, and shut the door behind me. Ryan's game was over. Now it was my turn to strike back. I walked out of Ryan's office, my grip still tight on the envelope. My heart pounded in my chest, not out of fear, but from the fire of rage burning inside me. Ryan thought he could hide everything, that I would never find out. But I knew. And now I needed someone who could help me turn this truth into a weapon against him. I pulled out my phone and dialed David Monroe's number. This time, he picked up immediately. Olivia, his voice was tense. David, I said, my voice cold. I found the documents. I know about the secret account the money Ryan has been hiding for over a year. Now, I want you to tell me the truth. David was silent for a few seconds. Then he sighed. I suppose you're not planning to sit back and let this slide. I let out a dry laugh. I think you already know the answer. Good, David replied, a hint of satisfaction in his tone. Ryan has been planning this for a long time. He moved money into a private account using shell companies to hide the assets, and if you had signed the divorce papers without knowing, legally, you would have gotten nothing. I tightened my grip on the phone. So what do I do now? David hesitated for a moment. I can't officially advise you because I'm still Ryan's lawyer. But if I were you, I wouldn't let this go quietly. You have evidence, Olivia, and you have the right to use it. I understood his implication. Do you know where Ryan is? David sighed. He's at his second apartment, the Westwood Tower. I bet he thinks he's already won. I clenched the envelope tighter, feeling my fury rise stronger than ever. Then it's time to show him just how wrong he is. The Westwood Tower stood tall in the heart of the city, its glass walls reflecting the glow of the streetlights. I stepped into the lobby, my determination unshaken. The security guard recognized me and let me up without question. Ryan never changed the entry codes because he never imagined I would show up here. The penthouse door clicked open the moment I scanned my key card. Ryan was sitting on the sofa, a glass of wine beside him, his expression completely at ease. When he saw me, he raised an eyebrow, as if my presence was an inconvenience rather than a threat. Olivia, he drawled, I didn't think you'd come here. I stepped forward and threw the stack of documents onto the table in front of him. And you? Did you really think I wouldn't find these? Ryan glanced down at the files, his eyes scanning the bold numbers printed across the pages. I saw his fingers tighten into a fist, but when he looked up, that smug little smirk still played on his lips. You really think this changes anything? I crossed my arms. It changes everything. I know about the secret account, the money you tried to hide. I know you planned for me to walk away from this marriage with nothing. Ryan scoffed. You have no proof. I tilted my head, my voice laced with challenge. Then why do you think I'm here? I have everything, the documents, the bank statements, the transfers you thought I'd never see. And I didn't just keep them to myself. I sent them to someone you can't control. Ryan's face darkened. Who? I smirked. David Monroe? Ryan shot up from his seat, his glass crashing to the floor, shattering into pieces. You talked to David? I met his gaze with unwavering defiance. Did you really think you could deceive everyone? That a single message and a few legal terms would be enough to push me out of your life without losing anything? You underestimated me, Ryan. He took a step closer, his eyes burning with anger. You can't do this, Olivia. I shrugged. I don't have to do anything, the law will take care of the rest now. Ryan clenched his fists, struggling to contain his rage. What do you want? I looked him straight in the eyes. I want justice, and I will take back what's mine. Ryan stepped back, his face growing pale. The smirk was gone. He knew the game was over. I picked up my envelope, turned toward the door, and just as I placed my hand on the doorknob, I heard his voice behind me. Olivia, this isn't over. I turned back with a cold smile. You're right, Ryan. It's only just beginning. Then I walked out of the apartment, leaving him standing there, a man who had just realized that everything he fought to keep was about to collapse completely. 3 weeks later, I stepped into the courtroom with a calmness I never thought I could maintain. Ryan sat across from me, his face stiff, but I could see the tension in his eyes. He no longer carried the arrogance he had when we last met. This time he knew he couldn't escape. David Monroe sat beside me, flipping through a thick folder of documents. We were prepared. Every document, every piece of evidence of the hidden assets was ready. The judge reviewed the files, then turned to Ryan. Mr. Carter, can you explain why there is a secret account containing over $5.2 million that was not disclosed during the asset division process? Ryan swallowed hard, trying to maintain his composure. That money belongs to me. It has nothing to do with the marriage. David stood, his voice calm but firm. Your Honor, this money did not exist before their marriage. Instead, it was withdrawn from joint accounts and transferred into a private account that Mrs. Carter had no knowledge of. This is a deliberate act of asset concealment during the divorce process. The judge nodded, then turned to Ryan. Mr. Carter, under the law, all assets accumulated during the marriage must be divided equally unless there is a prior financial agreement stating otherwise. You have provided no documentation proving that this money solely belongs to you. Furthermore, the act of intentionally hiding assets can be considered fraud. I saw Ryan's hands clench on the table, his jaw tightening. David continued, "We also have evidence that Mr. Carter planned for Mrs. Carter to sign the divorce papers before she could discover this money. This clearly shows premeditated deception." Ryan started to speak, but his lawyer quickly grabbed his sleeve, signaling him to stay quiet. The judge placed the folder down. "After reviewing the evidence, I rule that the concealed assets are considered joint property. Due to financial fraud, Mrs. Carter will not only receive half of the shared assets, but also an additional 30% of the hidden funds as compensation." The courtroom fell silent. Ryan sat motionless, while I kept my expression as composed as possible. But inside I felt a quiet wave of victory wash over me. Ryan's lawyer stood, attempting to object. "Your Honor, this compensation—" The judge cut him off. "I have made my decision. Court is adjourned." A sharp bang of the gavel ended everything. Ryan no longer held the same confidence as he walked out of the courtroom. I saw him standing in a corner, speaking to his lawyer, his voice full of frustration. When I passed by, he turned toward me, his eyes cold and sharp. "Do you think you've won?" he asked, his voice low and bitter. I stopped, looking straight at him. "No, Ryan. I don't think I won. I know I did." He opened his mouth as if to say something, but then stopped. I could see the defeat written all over his face. Ryan Carter, the man who once believed he could control everything, was now nothing more than a bitter loser. I turned away, leaving him standing there alone. News of our divorce spread faster than I expected. A week after the trial, I received a message from Rachel. "Olivia, have you heard the news?" "What news?" I replied. "Ryan is losing everything. Investors are pulling out. His company is on the verge of collapse." I stared at my phone screen, unsure how to feel. Ryan had built a solid career in finance, but now, the very people who once stood by his side were turning their backs on him. No one wanted to work with someone convicted of financial fraud in a divorce case. And that wasn't even the worst of it. 3 days later, Rachel messaged again. Ryan's mistress left him. I wasn't surprised. The woman Ryan had sacrificed everything for, the one he thought would stand by his side once I was out of the picture, had abandoned him the moment she realized he had nothing left. Ryan had lost, not just legally, but in every aspect of his life. The morning sun streamed through the glass window, reflecting off the steaming cup of coffee in my hands. I stood on the balcony of my new home, gazing at the lush green garden ahead. A gentle breeze passed by, carrying the soft fragrance of jasmine from the hedge. I took a deep breath, feeling the peace I had thought was lost long ago. This house was everything I had ever wanted. A bright, open space, not a cold penthouse or a lavish mansion. It was mine, completely mine, with no ties to anyone else. I once thought that after the divorce I would feel lost, empty. But in the end, what I had truly lost in that marriage wasn't a husband, it was myself. And now, I had reclaimed it all. That afternoon I sat on the sofa, enjoying the quiet of my new home. No more tense phone calls, no more worries about financial deceit. I picked up my phone, intending to check my schedule, when a notification popped up. Ryan Carter. I frowned. It took me a second to believe I was seeing the name correctly. I hesitated for a moment before opening the message. "Olivia, can we talk?" I laughed, a dry, humorless laugh, not out of joy but at the irony of the situation. Ryan, the man who had done everything to push me out of his life, the one who tried to take everything from me, now wanted to talk? I didn't reply immediately. I leaned back against the couch, staring at the ceiling. What was he thinking when he sent this? Maybe he had finally lost everything, the company, his reputation, his money. It had all crumbled after the trial, and now, with no one left by his side, he remembered me? I ran my fingers over the screen, typing a few words. "Not necessary, everything between us is over." I paused for a second, then hit send. Less than a minute later, another message appeared. Olivia, please, I just want to talk, just once. Please? Ryan Carter had never been the kind of man to say that word. I had once begged him to listen to me when our marriage started falling apart. I had once wished for a real conversation, but he never gave me the chance. And now he was the one begging me? I tapped into my settings and blocked his number. Decisive, no hesitation, no more second guessing, no more moments of weakness. I had let him control my life for far too long. A week later, I heard that Ryan had officially sold his penthouse to pay off his debts. His company had fallen into bankruptcy after a mass exodus of investors. He had nothing left. Rachel called me that evening. Olivia, you won't believe this. What is it? I asked, pouring myself a glass of wine and putting the phone on speaker. Ryan got abandoned. His mistress left him the moment she realized he was broke. I raised an eyebrow. Really? Yeah, I heard it from someone who used to work at his company. She disappeared, cut off all contact. Turns out she never loved him. She only loved his bank account. I let out a laugh. Now, that's ironic. Ryan had given up everything for her, and now, with his world crumbling, she left without a second thought. Life always has a way of restoring balance. I no longer thought about Ryan. He was the past, a chapter that had closed. Now I focused on myself, reading, tending to my small garden, traveling. I felt lighter than ever before. I hadn't just reclaimed my assets. I had reclaimed my life. Ryan once believed he could manipulate everything, control it all, but he forgot one thing. I was no longer the woman who would tolerate it. I had moved on, and this time I was truly free. Life doesn't always go the way we expect, but sometimes losses open doors to something better. Olivia once placed her absolute trust in her husband, only to discover he had been betraying her in secret for years. But instead of breaking down, she rose up, took back what was rightfully hers, and most importantly, rediscovered herself. Olivia's story is proof that justice always finds its way to those who deserve it, and sometimes the greatest victory isn't about money, it's about freedom and self-respect. What do you think about Olivia's story? Did she get the ending she deserved? Or should Ryan have faced an even harsher lesson? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to follow the channel for more stories about life, family, and justice.